Hey, it is Starseed Mentality back at you again with another video. And this video serves as a response video to Vicky Dillard's most recent post on YouTube, okay, that I've seen. It is right up above me here. And in said video, she has talked about the Obamas and particularly Barack Obama's, political piece, and how he was being used to spread white supremacy, okay? And she says that his platform was used in support of white supremacy simply because he did not present any political moves or power, or used his power and prestige to do anything for Black Americans, okay? And she says how in the one time he could have, all right, was an interview with Ta-Nehisi Coates. Okay, please go check that out. Where he mentions how reparations is unfair because Asian Americans and Mexican Americans had nothing to do with it. Okay? And so after having heard that, I have reached the conclusion that everybody is confused on the who should be giving Black Americans and descendants of slaves reparations. Okay? So let's get into it. All right, please like, share, and subscribe to the video to stay updated on what I post. That's on all my platforms, of my art page on Instagram, my astrology page on Instagram, and of course, YouTube, y'all. Stay updated because I'm posting. All right, and let's get into it. Before I continue, it is important for me to acknowledge the confusion in the room, okay? White Americans won't be giving us reparations. Asian Americans won't be giving us reparations. Okay, and Mexican Americans won't be giving us reparations. Okay, so I'm getting ready to explain to y'all the who and the why. Okay, from an essay that I have written for my bachelor's degree in journalism in mass communications. Okay, and I did an explainer journalism piece about reparations in the midst of President Joe Biden's entry into the 2020 presidential election. Okay, and how instead of giving anything to Black Americans who put him in office, the first thing he did was cater to immigrants. Okay, and let me make this clear. Democrats serve immigrants and Republicans serve white American interests. There's nothing wrong with these two factors. There's nothing wrong with that. But who serves Black Americans and our wants, needs, and desires? Okay? And this is why President Obama was sitting up there talking about, well, it wouldn't be fair to Asian Americans and Mexican Americans. All right, so let's get into it. So before I get into the list here, I do want to share an intro for you all for one of the questions that was in this essay. Keep in mind, this is not the entire article that I've written, okay? Where the question was, what is the controversy behind descendants of slaves receiving reparations? What are all the controversies and the reasons why we shouldn't, right? And it says here that African slavery was a global phenomenon. While the Holocaust was an event that happened in seemingly one location, the African slave trade was done all over the world and was mostly carried out by elites. Another controversy is not all African people were a direct descendants of slaves from Africa. Research shows that only 3% of Africans were trafficked to America, while others were already located on American soil. Therefore, the conversation of reparations for African people should go to every part of the world. This means that African Americans should not be the only group demanding conversation. All African peoples around the world should. Okay? And now that I'm thinking about it, this article does not include the Arab slave trade. Okay? This is only the enslavement of African Americans. Okay? And so I'm going to pause it right there. All right? And go straight to the list here. Okay? So it says here in my first point, European nations, a.k.a. What do I mean by European nations? I mean the Netherlands, a.k.a. the Duchess. If you watch African Queens on Netflix, she goes into the business agreements of human cargo. Queen Zinga, right? And her relations with the Netherlands, okay, a.k.a. the Duchess. Spain and Great Britain, a.k.a. the British royal family. Okay, and even if people want to argue that the Spain royal regime and the Netherlands royal regime isn't intact, then we do still have the British royal family. Okay, so that's who I mean by European nations. Okay, who gained in a lot of wealth because of African enslavement and colonialization, should give compensation of their wealth to African people or the descendants of African enslavement. Okay? Slaves were also the very first product on the U.S. stock exchange. Compensation from the stock market should go to African people. Okay? According to Dr. Evan Samerda, a professor of Africana Studies and researcher of ancient America, okay, African Americans are natural born Indians. He proves this. Compensation from stolen land should be given to African Americans. Okay? The Black community should also receive compensation from the Roman Catholic Church. This is because the royal regimes, such as Spain, the British royal family, the Duchess, a.k.a. the Netherlands, okay, the royal regimes were given their power, royal powers and duties by the Pope. All right? The Black community also needs conversation from the Democratic Party and the formation of the KKK and Jim Crow laws in the South. Okay, this takes place a little bit after slavery. Okay, but this also reminisces on the fact that African Americans didn't even have a fair chance, a break after slavery. We were still experiencing discrimination and terrorism from white supremacist groups. Okay, so compensation for that as well. And currently, this is true, and I know this because my own my great grandmother, okay, her mother, okay, got stories and trauma from the South because of the KKK. So again, this takes place a little bit after slavery, but we still need compensation for it. All right. The next point here is history and art museums have also profited off stolen artifacts that belong to African empires. Therefore, museums who have done this should give some of what they gain to African people. And this point also reminds me how Egyptologists shall also represent African people because they have done a great deal in misleading the public on religious texts, okay, and misinforming the public by denying the African presence in Egypt, okay? And they also have our artifacts in museums, okay? And so, if you want to look into my next point here, what will we do with the reparations? Please go check out my video, a list of what Black Americans care about. This video pretty much answers that second question there. And make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Peace.